What's up YouTube, and welcome back to Coddiwomple Garage. On this episode we're going to continue the theme of enhancing the drivability of our Jeep. On this episode of Coddiwomple Garage we're going to talk about sway bars. You know, on a Jeep and most other overlanding vehicles, they start in stock form much lower than what we have them when we get done with them. On a stock Jeep, for instance, it comes on 31-inch tires and is quite a bit lower than what we have now. We've increased our tire size to 37s, and we've also added a 3.5-inch lift kit. So it's brought our center of gravity, which would probably in stock form be down about this area right here, up to about right here. And then you add on all the extra gear and all the stuff that we put in the back, and then we've moved our center of gravity back. At that point, it's not exactly the way that the engineers designed it. And then we add a rooftop tent and an awning and all of that stuff, which raises our center of gravity even further. So what happens when you get that is an increase of sway of that leverage of weight on the top, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So all of that extra weight, especially up top, makes the Jeep or whatever overlanding vehicle you have top heavy. It's real easy to sway. Now we've put brand new suspension, brand new shocks, and all of that stuff on here, and I did put some new sway bar bushings on here, and that slowed it down, but not where we wanted it to be. So on this episode we're going to install a Rubicon Express oversized adjustable sway bar on the back of our Jeep. Removal of the sway bar is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is disconnect your sway bar from the top of the end link there, and then move back to the sway bar itself where it connects to the frame. There's 2 bolts there. You want to take that out on both sides and it drops right out. You don't even need to jack it up. Alright, so now the sway bar is completely loose. The only thing we're going to have to do is fish it out around the exhaust. So what's the purpose of a sway bar? Well, the purpose of a sway bar is to reduce sway. What happens is when your vehicle leans one way or the other, the sway bar is kind of a spring in that if that side is going down and this side is going up, it's going to resist it. Instead of it just flipping like this, there's built-in spring tension right here. So I can raise that up with my hands just a little bit, and that side is staying down. That's what it's supposed to do. This part of the sway bar is meant to twist a little bit. Now, how do you stiffen that up? You stiffen it up by using a larger sway bar. Our solution to our smaller and somewhat inadequate sway bar is to get a thicker one and one that has some adjustability, and that comes by way of Rubicon Express. The stock sway bar is 3/4 of an inch. The one that comes from Rubicon Express is 7/8 of an inch. They don't sound like a whole lot, but it is a considerable difference. The other thing that we have with the Rubicon Express is we have some adjustability. They advertise that on the farthest hole down here you have a 25% increase. The farthest hole back you have a 55% increase in your stabilization. So we're going to start on the third one because we're completely top heavy. Alright, so we showed how much flex there was in the stock one. I'm going to do the same thing with the aftermarket, and you'll see that there's very little bit that I can raise that up with my fingers. It's substantially stiffer. The Rubicon Express sway bar comes complete with new sway bar brackets and sway bar bushings. These are polyurethane, they're real high quality, and I'm going to show you real quick just how easy it is to replace your sway bar bushings, even if you're going to retain your stock sway bar. Over time and over mileage, these things degrade, and it's always a good idea to upgrade these. So they have a split in them, and all you do is just simply open the split up and slide them over, and then put your bracket back on. It's that simple. You're ready to upgrade. Rubicon Express sway bar comes with 3 holes for adjustability. They say that the first one is a 25% increase over stock in anti-sway, the middle is 40%, and the closest one here is 55% increase of anti-sway over stock. We're going to go ahead and start with the 55% one because we're so heavy on top. What I plan to ultimately do is get some quick disconnects to where when we get on trail, I can reduce that anti-sway and give me a little more flex in the rear end. I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but in case that we want to add a little more sway or a little more flex, we'll be able to do that. So the question you may ask is, will this give me too much stiffening? And it will definitely be stiffer than it was in the factory position. And if you feel like you have too much anti-sway, then that's what those 3 adjustable bolt holes are for. You just need to move it out a little bit more to reduce your amount of anti-sway. Once you get all your nuts and bolts started, then you can begin the tightening process. I like to start with the end links first. That way you know you've got them squared up and snug, and then you can tighten up against the frame. So once we get all the bolts in place, we're going to measure here and make sure that it's even on both sides and centered up. Once it is, we're going to go ahead and tighten the sway bar back to the frame. Got the new rear sway bar on. You can tell while we're driving it's a lot more stable, a lot flatter. You don't have that body roll like we used to have. Even on the tighter, twisty roads, you can still feel a really big difference in how stable and flat Jeep tracks. So we just got home from putting the sway bar on the back, and I've got to tell you that it does drive a whole lot better. It's a lot more stable on the road and feels just a lot more comfortable to drive. It doesn't feel like you're driving this big top heavy monster anymore. It actually is enjoyable to drive. So as we increase the weight in our overlanding rigs and we put rooftop tents and things like that on, we increase that top leverage, and it's going to make them sway a lot worse. I think that a sway bar, rear sway bar especially, is a great addition or upgrade to any overlanding rig. Now we're going to upgrade the front bushings. We ordered them, and the ones that came in were the wrong ones. We're going to have to reorder those. We're going to order them from Energy Suspension. When we get those put on, I think it'll be a whole different animal. There are some 3-piece sway bars that a lot of people in the off-road community use, and those are great, but I feel like the 1-piece design is going to give us better manners on road. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and what, if any, upgrades you've made to your sway bars. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.